Hey Thunkers, how's it going? For this week's episode of Thunkable on Air, you have three guests. Let's meet them.
Oh, hey everybody, so I'm Dono. Great to be in person in here.
Hold on,
let's get rid of this feedback here. There we go. Yeah, so great to be visiting San Francisco, and we're going to team up, we're going to collaborate on an app today for photo sharing. We're sharing ideas and sharing apps and everything. Hey?
And I'm Mark. I'm the head of engineering here at Thunkable, and I'm just happy to help these guys out.
All right, let's get started. Nice to see everyone again. I'm Jimmy. Today, as Donald said, we're going to be making a really cool app called Snapgram. It's kind of like a Instagram, Snapchat hybrid. The way that this works is on your phone, you will have 5 images. These are just some images that we took of the office. When you take a picture, and I'm just going to take a quick picture. Take a picture of us streaming. And when you use the photo, the new photo will get sent to the top. And then the oldest photo gets deleted. So this is kind of like Snapchat in that your photos will disappear as you use it more. And then it's also like Instagram because you still have access to some photos that you can scroll through. So we're going to talk about how to design this app and how to block it out. Donal, where should we get started? What do you got for us?
So we're going to start off by designing the app first of all. The way we make it interactive is by having things that the user can click on, and then we'll jump into the block section and we'll look at how we can keep track of all those images, and then how you can share them with our online storage as well. So that means then that when you share this with your friends, everybody is looking at the same shared stream. So yeah, let's jump into the design section. I think we can do a little bit of screen sharing and work our way through the design. Don't forget as well that as Jimmy loads this up, the comment section is live. So myself and Mark are doing the tech support. We're doing comment moderation today. So leave your comments and your questions in the chat, and we'll get them.
Awesome. Well, let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to add a column. So in this awesome search component search bar, I'm just going to type in column, and I'm going to add a column into the app. And what's really important with this column is you need to set the height to fit contents. So we're going to change that from fill container to fit contents. And next, super important, we're going to set the column to scrollable. Awesome. So this is the first step. Next, you are going to add 5 buttons into the column. Why are we using buttons instead of images? So a really cool thing, and I'm just going to go back to stop screen sharing for a second and just go back to the app. A really cool thing about this app is when you click on a picture, let's click on the picture of this beaver, it's going to open it up in another screen and allow you to take a screenshot. So if you really like the picture and you want to screenshot it, you can screenshot it on this other screen, and if you tap it again, then it just goes back to where we were. So instead of using images, we're going to use buttons that can be clicked. So again, let's go back to screen sharing. Share the screen. We are going to add 5 buttons into the column. So I'm just going to do that really quick. Button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4, and button 5. And we can even just very quickly rename these. We can just call them image button 1, image button 2, so on and so forth. The reason we're going to do this is this app has a few buttons involved, and we just want to make sure that when we're programming this app later, we know which buttons are for images and which buttons are for being regular buttons. So here we go, almost set. Image button 4 and image button 5. All right, so what is the next step that we're doing? We need to delete the button text. So just really quickly, click on all the buttons, and we're just going to delete the button text. And after we delete all of the button text, we are going to change the height and width of each of the buttons. Super important. We need to go to height and width over here. We're going to set the height to absolute size and be 300, and we're going to do the same thing for the width, absolute size and 300. So really quickly, just going to go into all of the different buttons and set this up.
And the great thing is then once you have a component within your design and you know the properties, you know it's going to be a particular height, you know it's going to be a particular size, what you can do is you can change that property really quickly. You can see that the properties along the right-hand side stay in the same place. And you can see how easy it is then for Jimmy just to jump in and just change all of those numbers at once.
All right, and this is taking a little long, but we're almost done.
Yeah.
Cool thing is you only have to do it once.
I think as well. So what we've got now, and you can see the outlines of the buttons as well. And maybe what we can do is just put a bit of a background color on the screen as well, and then you'll be able to see those white buttons. So when you're testing, I like to change the colors a bit, the background colors, to just show us kind of what's going on and what's happening as well within the app.
Awesome. I think the next step is that we have to really quickly, for each button, we have to go to background picture resize mode and set that to be cover. So I'm just going to really quickly click on all of these, change background picture resize mode to be cover. This is going to make sure that our pictures are displayed correctly. After that, to make these look like Polaroids, which we think is a cool touch, click on image button 1. We're going to scroll all the way down to where it says border. We're going to make the border have a width of 8. We're going to make the color be white. The style will be solid, and the border radius. We're not going to do anything with the border radius. And while we're at it, we're also going to make this button be raised. So really quickly, we're just going to do that with all of them. Again, that's a width of 8. Color is white. The style is solid, and it's raised. So that's button 2. We're going to do the same thing with button 3 really quickly. Dotted, almost done. Oh, not dotted, solid. Almost set, almost set. Here we go. Raised, solid, and here's the last button. So now our buttons should all be designed nicely, raised with a solid white border. Great. What's the next step? We are going to, so if we look back to the app that we designed, I'm gonna bust this out real quick. We have this little button at the bottom, which we click to take a picture. So now we're going to design the row and that button. So let's go back into our Thunkable platform. Here we go. So we are going to add a row. I'm just gonna drag this down a little bit. Add a row up here, and then drag the column on top of it. And we are going to add a button into the row. We are going to delete the button's text, and we are going to set the button's height and width to be absolute size, and then 90. Again, absolute size, and be 90. And we're going to give it a border radius of 100, so it's a circular button, and we are going to make it raised. Great. So this is now pretty much what your app should look like. We are going to add a background image for this button, and this is going to be pretty cool. To start, we're going to make the background image of this button this camera JPEG. And when you click the button later, we're going to turn it into a GIF, which is going to be a Polaroid pumping out a fresh picture. So to get started again, we're just going to set this to source JPEG. And these pictures, all pictures can be found on this app file. And we're going to set the background of screen 1. We have a cool background image for you. It's going to be about pineapples. Great.
So you want to do a live test there as well and fire it up, or like, yeah, let's click live test here. Is that all right?
Yep.
If you open up the live testing app as well, and you can have a look then and see what it looks like on your device.
Oh, so bumping into
Yeah.
a little bit of trouble at the bottom.
So
So,
go back here, don't we? Yeah.
oh, hey, what's going on? So this is what it should look like right now. You have some pineapples on the side. You can scroll through pictures. It looks like there's something up with the row component at the bottom, so we should just double check that. So I'm gonna go back into the screen share. and see what's up with the row. I think for height in the row, it should
set it to be fit the contents then. So we want it to be as tall as the button itself. Cool.
Oh, great.
So, yeah, without, I guess, jumping back and forth, we can see that it looks good on our screens anyway.
And the last thing that we want to do is add margins to the buttons.
Yeah.
So that's going to put some space in between these different buttons, and it will make your pictures not smushed together. So if we go to margin over here, we're going to add 10% to the top and 10% to the bottom of every single button. And so you can see already that this is getting spaced out and that this looks really nice. And it also allows you to see more of the pineapples, which is great because who doesn't love pineapples? All right.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So we saw in the demo that you did at the beginning that when you click on any one of these pictures, what it does was it made that picture full screen. So how did you do that in the app then?
So we're going to add another screen to the app. So this is the screen that you get taken to when you click on any of those pictures. To get started, we're going to place a button into screen 2. We're going to very quickly remove the button's text. We are going to set the height and width of the button to be fill container. Fill container. So now we have a button that is the full height and width of the screen.
Cool.
And we're going to make sure that background picture resize mode is set to contain. Great. And the last step, because this is an app that has a camera in it, is we have to add a camera component. And we also need to add a way to store these photos. And what we're going to use for that is the MediaDB. So drag and drop a MediaDB into your app. And so now you have all of the components. You've got all of the pineapples. Looks like these margins are, just going to double check that these are all the same. It looks like I might have added some extra margins into these. Sorry about that, Thunkers. Just going to double check now that all the image buttons have a top margin of 10 and a bottom margin of 10. It looks like they do. Oh, this one does not. So I'm just going to double check, make sure that we have that there. And there we go. This app is now fully designed. So if you're live testing along with us, I'm just going to show you what this looks like really quick. We're going to stop screen sharing. Hey, Jimmy and Donald again. And here is what your app should look like. We have pictures that you can scroll, and we have a camera button that you can press, and pineapples on the background. So now I'm going to kick it off to Donald, who's going to be explaining how to do the blocks programming for this app. So we're going to, let's see, here we go.
Yeah, let's start screen sharing again and see if we can add in some of that functionality that we saw in the demo. So first thing we want to do, I suppose, is figure out how we're going to get the images that we take in the camera and display them in each of these buttons. So because we've got 5 different buttons on the screen, I think what we should do is create a list to store all 5 of those buttons. What we can do is create a variable like this. So we go initialize a variable and we could call it the list of pictures or picture list or anything that you want to know.
Again, if any folks aren't familiar with variables, variables are placeholders for things that are going to change. So what's going to change in this app? All the pictures are going to change. So we need to keep a variable, create a variable to keep track of those.
Exactly. In this case, all of these pictures will be stored on your phone only, but because this is like a social media style app, it'd be nice if we could share these with other people. So we can really quickly, just by changing one property here, make this a cloud variable. So anybody with this app, if you share it with any of your friends, they'll be able to see all the photos that are in your shared stream. Okay, so the next thing we want to do then is make sure the first time that this app runs, you won't have any pictures. So you want to check what happens if you don't have any pictures. So when the screen starts, this is when we're going to do a little test here. We're going to check whether or not we have any pictures in our list. So we can see if the picture list is empty, or if there's no picture list, if it doesn't exist. We go into our variables here. If we don't have a picture list, what we'll do is we'll set the picture list variable like this. And then we can create an empty list. So this will be the very first time that somebody runs the app. The next thing then that we want to do is figure out how to take some pictures. So that's pretty straightforward because all we need to do is click on the button at the bottom of the screen, like so. Zoom in a tiny bit, make it easier to see. And in camera one, then you've got this function here that says take photo. And it gives us a couple of options. Was there any error from the camera? Did the user cancel? And we have a photo that we can pass to the cloud, to our media database here. So let's add that in here. Let's upload a media DB. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass this photo as the media input to the media database. So that gets stored, and this is the component that allows everybody to see what's being stored in the cloud. And then what we're going to do is use this picture list to keep a track of where everything is. In the picture list, what we're going to do is we're going to add it as a we're going to add our media URL. We're going to keep track of its address, where it lives in the database. So we're going to store it in the picture list like this. And by default, if you watch any of the other tutorials, what we usually do is we put things into the end of the list. But in order to have a nice kind of social stream with all the newest stuff first, what we'll do is we'll pop this in at the beginning of the list like that. And one of the things then Jimmy pointed out was that you can create a kind of an animation effect. And we can do this by when the user clicks on the button, we can change its background image. So this is kind of an easy way to do animations in your app, to be the GIF file here. So it'll start animating, start scrolling through that. And then when it's finished uploading, when we've done all the other stuff, we can change it back to the static image, the JPEG. So some of these GIF files could be a second, they could be 3 or 4 seconds long. And again, you have a control, you've got total control over all of this, that you could actually put a pause in here of 4 or 5 seconds. If you have a longer animation, it allows you to do stuff like that as well. And then what we want to do is update the actual images on the screen. So we've got 5 of those, and we want to get the first 5, the most recent 5 images out of this list and display them here. So we'll just start by doing the easiest way, and then we'll see kind of a more efficient way of doing it later. So let's put them all here as our background pictures like this. We're going to go into our lists, and we want the background picture of the first button to be, I want to get an item from the list here. Let's see if we can find that. In list, we want to get number 1 here. So let's go into our picture list here, so you can copy these like that. And then once you know, like that, once you can kind of spot a pattern, it's pretty easy then just to duplicate. So the background of image button 2 will be image number 2, and so on all the way down. So same as doing your properties and stuff like we were talking about earlier. That's our 4th one. You can see it's starting to get a little bit kind of messy here in the block, so we'll come back to this later and we'll see if we can find a way to tidy it up a little bit and make it a bit more efficient for ourselves. Okay, so pretty happy with that. And then we should be able to see, as we take pictures, we should be able to see these appear on the screen. So let's jump back into our live test, I think. Stop screen sharing and see then if we can take a couple of selfies and see if we can take a few images and have them load up here.
Okay, so again, we have this, and we're going to take a selfie, see how this goes.
Selfies within selfies.
Here we go. We're going to use this photo, and it should populate to the first picture. Let's just make sure we are fully live testing. 1 second, Thunkers. We are just going to double check that this is live testing right now. And here we go. Let's try that one more time. Instead of taking a selfie, we're going to take a picture of this, which is kind of like a reverse selfie, and to see if this loads all the way. Yep, here we go. We have our first picture and our second picture, and you can see that we can scroll to 3 more that we haven't taken yet. So this is working. This is Snapgram so far. A few more things to do, but this is generally a pretty cool app so far. Donal, what's next?
Okay, so what we want to do is make sure that when that app opens up the first time, or when you send it to your friends, when they open it up, they see the latest images that are in the thing. And we want to add the ability to click on the images as well and have them full screen. So you could screenshot them maybe, and you could share them then, rather than having the smaller little Polaroid style images. We can do things like that as well, I think. Okay, so let's start sharing again. And I suppose what we do here is that when our app opens up, what we want to do is reuse all of these blocks in here. So we want to populate, if there are images in the list, if there are images in the stream, we want to reuse all of these blocks again. And we could copy and paste them. But that's generally a bad idea. It's something that we can do more efficiently by creating a function. You can call it anything you like. We're going to go with display the pictures or display the pics like this.
Just to make sure, so everyone is familiar with functions, we've used them a few times. So a function is kind of like creating a shortcut. So what Donald did just now was he created this function and put all of these different blocks into the function. So now anytime he wants to use this function, instead of copy and pasting all of these blocks, he now can just use this little shortcut, which will tell the app to do all of the things in the display pics function.
Yeah, and this one, so what have we got? We've got 15 or so blocks, 15, 20 blocks in there, which we've replaced just by that one. So one more block in here. That saves us putting in those 15 or 20 blocks there. So yeah, makes your app a lot more efficient, a lot cleaner, a lot easier to read and to maintain as well. So if you'd come back and make changes in the future, which is the whole idea of building apps, you keep updating them. That's one way to do it as well. So what's going to happen then when the user clicks on one of these buttons? What do we want to do? We're going to open up another screen, and we're going to show the picture that was clicked in the next screen. So we're going to have, again, another way to store that. And as Jimmy was saying earlier, anytime you've got information that's changing, you're going to use a variable. So we can call this maybe our picture URL, URL like that. And it doesn't have to have any value. You could leave it blank if you wanted. And so when we click on this, we're going to set the picture URL here. The picture URL or in the picture list to be picture number 1. So you can right click on any block and you can duplicate it like that. So we're going to go into the list of pictures and get the first one when the first image is clicked. Okay, and then essentially the same thing is going to happen for all of the blocks. Or all of the buttons rather, so that when we have this image in our variable, then we're going to go to screen 2 and we're going to display it on that screen. The same thing then is going to happen for all the other ones. So again, we can duplicate these, or you can use the keyboard shortcuts. So copy and paste. That could be 3, 4, and 5. You want to make sure that you don't have any. You want to be really careful with this as well, because it's kind of a little bit error prone. We want to make sure that when we've got the second button, that we get the corresponding second image. You've got to go through all of these and just update them and make sure then that you don't have any duplicate events. So that, and you want to, a good idea I think would be to test the first one, make sure that that one works, and then you can go and copy and paste and test all your blocks there. Okay, it's just.
So right now, anytime you click any of these images, it's going to navigate to the next page or the next screen. So let's see what's going on the other screen. We have to tell this screen what to do when it opens.
Excellent. Okay, so we've already set up in the design that the button 2, that it's already taking up the entire screen. All we have to do then is just change that background picture. So because that background picture is always changing, that's why we use variables. And we're going to use our picture URL. So rather than using one that we've uploaded, we're going to use one that's stored in the cloud. And we want to be able to control what happens when the user clicks on that button, isn't it?
Right. So when this screen opens again, it's going to show you the picture that you clicked. And what we want to do is make sure that when you click that picture, it will take you back to screen 1, so you can continue viewing all of the pictures at the same time.
Cool. So you get this lovely full screen image that takes up the entire size of your phone, and then when you click on that image, it takes you back to the stream and allows you to go back and forth. Cool. Do we want to do? I think we want to do a quick demo.
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, amazing. All right, let's jump out of screen sharing really quickly. Okay.
All right. So we're going to. Again, here's our app. You can scroll through all the pictures. We're going to take a quick picture of another selfie. Here we go. We're going to use this photo. It's going to pop up. So here we go. And when we click on it, it's going to take us to screen 2. Now you can screenshot this photo. If you click on it again, it's going to take you back to the screen. You can do this for any of the photos. And these are just the photos that we were using so far in this video. So pretty cool. And if you pay really close attention to what's going on down here, we're going to click this. And as you can see, we're going to say use photo, and the little Polaroid is coming out. So that's a really cool animation, small touch that we hope you enjoy. But yeah, this is how you create this app. It's kind of like a Snap Instagram hybrid. We're calling it Snapgram. Thank you so much for asking questions. Just going to give a shout out to a few folks. We got Josh Cox. We've got Thunkable X Tutorials. It's our good friend Amblemind. Mark Friedman, who has been responding, who's also right here on the live stream. Hey, what's going on, Mike? Who else has been? Everson Lima.
Yeah.
Hey, Everson, how's it going?
So we got a bunch of people here.
Personal tests. Great.
Fantastic.
Thank you, everyone, for your questions. All right. Again, if you really like this app file and you want to use it, just click below in the links section. You can also see all of our previous live app building tutorials. We've built a lot of cool things, and all the app files are there. So you just have to click on them, and they will open up in your own Thunkable account.
All right. When you're clicking on things, you can click the like button as well, and you can click subscribe, and then you'll see more tutorials from us. And if you have any suggestions as well, there's always the comment section below is always open. So give us some suggestions of what sort of apps you want to see us building. This is a good example this week. So usually we're remote from one another, and we're helping out via email and stuff. And to be face-to-face in person, this is a great example of with your own apps, hopefully using a bit of teamwork, bring in some expertise from different people, and shout out to all the wonderful thunkers out there. We're always helping online and doing that as well. So.
But seriously, if you want to see us build something, just put it in the comments section.
That's it.
Tell your friends, tell your colleagues.
Yeah.
All about us.
Tell anyone who will listen. Great. Well, thanks again for thunking. Look for the next episode of Thunkable on Air, episode 9 next week, at probably around our regular time, which is 10:30 a.m. PT. Yeah. We'll see you online. And again, see you later. Thanks, Thunkers. Bye-bye.